meeting to order, noting that Amanda is attending virtually, and Kim and Marina at the present time are not in attendance. If we could have the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is right up there. Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, with that, the mission statement, the Viroqua Area School District provides a quality education for all students that inspires continuous learning, positive relationships, curiosity, and compassion, and an environment that welcomes diversity while developing respectful and responsible citizens. So we're going to start this evening by welcoming our new middle school principal, Steve Christensen. Steve, if you don't mind, so the board has given a very small token of our appreciation, some local goodies from our area, but if you don't mind telling us a little bit about yourself, telling the community just a little bit about yourself.
Sure,
Thank
absolutely.
you. And welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the gifts as well. There's a large assortment, a variety of different things from the community, and I very much appreciate that. My wife will as well. I also shared, for those of you that are in attendance, and I also shared with Tom and Beth, a virtual digital copy of this as well to be shared with those of you that are online. But just a quick one pager of some of my values, some of the things that, as far as how I view myself. So it starts with my 4 core values: equity, integrity, service, and empathy. And then just my 3 kind of big identities that I see in myself. First and foremost, I'm a husband, a devoted husband to my wife. I'm a servant leader. I believe in equipping others with the capacity to be able to make an impact, a lasting change towards our mission, towards our kids, towards our community. And that's what I aim and seek to do in this position. And I'm a seeker of balance. So I know that this is a calling, and a calling that's given a lot to me. And that's not a responsibility that I take lightly, but I also know how draining it is as well. So I model, or I try to model, keeping a balance, a work-life balance, and refilling that well of compassion and resilience, knowing that I'm going to have to draw from that for others, knowing that the need is great, and that it's an important need that we serve in the community as well. So I appreciate the opportunity to come and be a part of this community. I come from a small town of Washburn, Wisconsin, up north, where my dad was my elementary school and middle school principal. So education is definitely in my blood, and definitely something that I feel called to do, just like my father was called to do as well. So I look forward to being, right now I'm living in Cashman and commuting. This is a totally selfish plug, but if anyone has on some property where we could possibly bring our 1-horse home, we're absolutely looking to move into the Viroqua community. This is a place that we want to be long term. So thank you for not just this opportunity, but for the community, for letting me be a part of this journey as well.
We're very excited to have you, and we hope that you find some real estate that fits your needs sooner versus later. I know it's a tight market out there. With that, we will go on to the Compensation Committee report. And that would be Kim.
Actually, it's going to be Vicky. Are you okay with that?
It'll be me, yes. So
Okay.
I had a heads up. Thank
Yep.
you. Thanks, Steph. Because I had to look back at my notes. It was way back on July 12th we met. Amanda, Kim, and I, and Tom, and Mike, and the things that we looked at, we'll be looking at later in the meeting. Some of the staff handbook updates that are related to compensation. Those are page 41 through 47, things like types of leave, compensation for credits earned, co-curricular pay, substitute pay, referral bonus. So I'll leave that till later in the meeting when we're going through all of those staff handbook updates. And then we went into closed session, and as stated in the posting, to discuss strategy regarding base wage negotiations with the Viroqua Education Association. No action was taken.
Thank you.
That's my answer.
Thank you very much. The consent agenda is the next item, and it's approval of the agenda, proof of public notice, June meeting minutes, voucher summary 1, and the amount of $726,695.68. The retirements of Janelle Oldham, who has been teaching kindergarten in our district for 32 years. Thank you so much, Janelle, for your service. There are no resignations. Appointments are Remy Jakowski, 2nd grade teacher, and Susan Brown, a 4th grade teacher. The 2022-23 academic standards, the 2022-23 student at risk plan, the 22-23 district staff handbook, and the 2022-23 activity code handbook, the 22-23 coaches handbook, the designation of depositories for school district funds, and policy updates that were revised 3431 and 4431, which includes employee leaves, with the removal of the parent-student handbooks. With that,
You're deleting item K from the.
I
consent.
am removing item K from the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item K.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Oh, somebody else is on there. Is that
Marina.
Marina? Welcome, Marina.
Marina, just for the record.
figured
was
it
that-
out. I
For
figured
the
out how
record-
to unmute.
Awesome. For the record, was that opposed or was that
In favor.
in favor?
That was in favor.
Thank you.
So with that, that motion carries. So item K, I'm going to separate out. There have been some questions about item K, which is the parent-student handbooks. One of the questions was the change in the grading scale or system. And I am wanting to know, first of all, I would like,
Is there a motion on that?
there's not, and that's how I'm trying to phrase this appropriately. I would like a motion to approve the parent-student handbooks with the removal of the grading scale and the clothing section of the handbook. So is there a motion to approve them with removing those?
We can discuss.
Thing, right? And then.
Yeah, we can
amend it after.
discuss without a motion on
Are you
what.
sure? I thought we had to approve it and,
No. You're gonna make a motion,
Yep.
then discuss, and then act after that. No action on a
Could have
a
an
motion.
amendment.
Yes,
An
we can have an
amendment.
amendment to that.
Okay,
So you can
want it
approve
that
the
way.
motion to approve it and then we can
Okay.
go into the discussion.
A motion to approve the parent-student handbooks.
Yep.
But you can have discussion before.
There a
that.
second?
Second.
All
Okay.
right, now discussion.
Now it's open for discussion.
Now it's open for discussion. So there's been some, I know I brought up a concern and I know that there was an email sent today of some explanation of the grading scale changes. And so Jason, I am wondering if you can present to the board and the community why those changes and what they are. Thank you.
Yeah, our proposal, we were looking at changes that we've been looking at this process for probably over a year now. And just comparing our grading scale to those in the conference. And then also we ended up comparing it to a lot of higher, probably a dozen or more higher performing schools in the state also. We traditionally have had on the high end of the grading scale. And across the board, including at the lower end, our failing rate cutoff was a 68.5. So our proposal was to, I don't want to say lesson to lighten that scale a little bit. I think our greatest concerns with that scale have been on the lower end. You know, is it affecting kids who may be more at risk in their ability to do activities and different things that may keep them more connected into schools? The other thing I think that has been a concern that some parents have brought up is if the kids are going off to a college and scholarships are based on GPA, are they at a disadvantage compared to other school districts' kids? So we were looking at potentially, and I had sent the board a scale that it's not your traditional 90, 80, 70, 60, but it's closer than we were. And I think we also would keep the weighted grades with our advanced placement courses. We are the only school in our conference that does weighted grades. And we think that's actually a benefit for the kids to challenge themselves to take those courses too. So we want to keep those kind of tagged in with that. I think ideally, and I wasn't here historical when the scale was changed. I think that was probably at a period of time that there were a number of schools that kind of went that route, thinking that that would correlate pretty strongly with student achievement. And I think a lot more of the research nowadays is coming out saying it correlates probably with student completion, but maybe not achievement. So.
Are there any questions on that topic of the handbook?
Mine was, when I was looking at this, really at that, it does bring us a lot more in line with conference until you get to that C grade. I feel that there's a big difference still in that C range. We don't look at this grading scale often, and so I just want to make sure that we're 5 or we're 6 points off from one school at C. Otherwise 3 points or so. The other ones were off by maybe a point or two. So I guess that was my only, why did that bigger gap come just at C? And is that still what's best for kids?
And I think the C is because the D was kind of the catch me up to get back to the 60. One thing I didn't mention, we did survey high school staff too. It was interesting. High school staff was all over the place. I would say it was probably a slight majority to go to a 90, 80, 70, 60. A lot, I would say they had more concerns with the Gibbons current scale with the 60 end of it, the 60 compared to the 68.5. There was some that wanted to keep it the same and feel like they adjust their grades accordingly because of that. My argument would be with that is if you do that, really, is it that more rigorous of a scale anyway? Or are we just kind of pretending that it is type of thing? So when we looked at, and I think Amanda's mentioning like the biggest discrepancy we have is I think with Westby, because I believe they don't have pluses and minuses. So they basically go A, B, C, D, E, F. So like their A goes to 90, their B goes to 80. And there's no difference between like an 80 and an 89 as far as the transcript for those kids. So we were trying to, and I think there is probably some validity in, I think historically Viroqua has taken a lot of pride in having higher expectations, maybe. I don't know if that's the term, and I don't know if it correlates directly with a grading scale, but I think, and I think I mentioned to the board when I sent the document, if we were sitting at a 90, 80, 70, 60, and would I probably be saying, hey, let's bump it up 1 or 2? Probably not. But the fact that we are coming from where we are, and if you dropped it all the way down to 90, 80, 70, 60, and we kept the weighted grades, then we actually probably technically have the weakest grading scale in the area. And I don't know if that's where we want to go either. So in a matter of like, especially in a staff that was almost 50-50, The compromise is always good, but it's like, can we be happy? It's not even the middle, because it's, I mean, it's definitely farther towards the 90, 80, 70, 60, but it's like, you know, and with the weighted, I feel that, you know, number one, I feel like if you drop the lower to the 60, that takes away the concern about, you know, having at-risk kids potentially losing things that they care about the most. And then with the weighted, I think it probably offsets enough of going all the way to the 90, 80, 70, 60, in my opinion. But it's your hand.
Well, and in the end, you know, Jason and I and the Evan team, we've been discussing this for over a year now, with potential changes and trying to find an equitable grading scale that is still holding true to, you know, what the board previously has said, you know, with the higher expectations. So that's really what our goal was to kind of find that balance. If the direction is to not worry about that balance, then we just need to know that direction. If the balance is, okay, you're going too far, you know, now in the other direction, we need to know. And so that's really why we want to open the conversation up and why we pulled it off the consent agenda, is to have the conversation.
In my opinion, this is an administrative decision, not that we don't have any input, but you have discussed this for a year and have come to a decision with your staff and all of our teachers as to what this would look like. If you find after this year that maybe it needs to be altered in some capacity, because I guarantee everybody's going to be watching it very closely, then you will recommend something different. But I know that this wasn't taken lightly myself. Is there any other discussion on the grading scale?
Are there any opportunities for tech ed AP?
Not tech ed advanced placement, no, I'm not that I'm aware of.
I'm just thinking with
We
the.
have some college credit.
We have college credit, we have dual credit.
That's different.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, if someone is on that track, would they ever be valedictorian?
Well, you just opened a much bigger conversation that I don't have an answer for or response right now. Jason, I would guess you'd be in the same boat. We would have to, that's a bigger.
They may not be on that track, but with the technical education excellence scholarship, that is newer within the last 5 years,
Mhm.
and is the exact same amount as academic excellence scholarship. They definitely still have the ability to reach a very high achievement level.
I will also say in the tech ed department that the requirements in many of those areas are very high as far as your math skill, your writing skill. So just because it's a tech ed education, I would hope that anyone in that area of interest would be taking those AP classes as well.
Was there information? I know obviously we have a new middle school principal, but this grading scale is going to be for high school and middle school. And then the feedback from middle school teachers were the same as high school. Is that correct?
I had mentioned it to John throughout, and I am not aware that John,
Whether he did or did not.
Survey.
I don't know if he surveyed or not. So the shared staff would know through my end of it. And John knew that we were surveying the high school staff and getting their feedback. And I don't want to speak on his behalf, but he's always been in favor of keeping the same grading scale.
Absolutely.
But I'm not, as a high school, but I'm not aware that he directly asked them.
And I can say from my perspective, of the things that are going to be high lever priorities, especially within the first few months of me working, a lot of it is going to be building relationships and building rapport, and especially building a culture of team. And that's going to be from 5 through 12 as well, I guess 4K through 12, really. And so the more that we can be on the same page, that was really in my feedback in that conversation, is how can we be more consistent from the grading scale in one building compared to the other. So that was my feedback as far as the conversation.
And that played into line with one of the things that already went through the consent agenda. We've always had a different honor roll scale in the middle school and high school, which from a consistency standpoint doesn't
make sense.
make much sense either. But you've already approved that. So.
So any other questions in regards to grading scale? All right.
So then the next topic was the piece about what is appropriate, I want to say clothing, what's the terminology?
Dress code.
Dress code,
Yep.
dress code.
Mhm.
So I know I had many concerns with that section. I believe it's outdated. And my understanding is that there may be some other board members that had that same thought. I voiced my questions about what the dress code looked like, and I would like to have you reevaluate that and bring that piece back next month or the next time that we meet.
Yep. And in part of this conversation, just so that we are giving the true sense of the history of this, is prior to me getting here, there was a big a push to get essentially conversations that could be geared towards a sexist lens, right, male versus female, out of that book or out of that handbook, and we've been consistently working on that. And so this is just the another iteration of that, the change process in that, as far as making sure that we're truly looking at that. And so again, we have taken steps, and part of our anti-bias education team has looked at this, and we'll continue to use all resources to make sure that we're being as equitable as possible with that enforcement across the board.
And that was a real concern that I had, because sometimes young people grow very quickly and their clothes might fit them differently with having the inability to purchase other clothes. So I don't want to harm a student in any capacity. We want to support them and assist them, not make them feel badly about what they have on. So
yeah, we will bring that back.
That's part of the reason we bring them in July. So
This is exactly the reason we're having this conversation now. So we have another meeting prior to school.
And I wouldn't be able to go to school today with the outfit that I have on.
And I
That why you
did,
wore it?
You have to have it two inches.
But you're covered
you're
up.
covered.
Yeah,
Right,
you're
but
That's how the
you're fine.
teachers
Mhm.
enforce it anyway with
Right.
Yeah.
But
what I
I
hear.
think if I didn't have it, the only reason I did is because it's usually cold.
It is.
Which I'm not cold actually, but I just think there needs to be another lens.
We will evaluate and bring that back. So as far as options now, you could.
We could approve it. Is everyone okay, including the grading scale that exists, to move that piece forward? Going
we wanna
once,
go for it.
going twice?
my only thing is, if we're not approving it whole, can we table it and just approve it whole in August?
You can. What that does cause is for us to kind of push pause on the back end, for some of the things that we would like to roll out to not only our staff, but other things. So again, for a minor change or a minor, piece like this, you could say an approval with this, with the, update, with the understanding that the update's coming forward on dress code, or you could approve minus the dress code portion, and then we would bring that dress code portion next month. So it's up to you guys.
Yeah, and it depends how late you table it. The difference dress code and grading scale, like in the system, we're gonna have to do some work if the grading scale's changed.
Yep.
Dress code wise.
Right. So I understand what you're saying, Amanda. Yeah, that's the cleanest. And as long as we have some guidance, we can move forward. But that's you can do one either way.
So I will make an amendment to the motion that we approve the parent-student handbook with an update coming in August of the dress code, with changes in the dress code coming in August. Is there a second?
Changes or potential changes?
Changes.
Second.
All right.
And then I just am clarifying that means that the dress code will be voted on in
August.
In August.
Not April.
What can we say at the
Yeah.
next meeting?
We could say at the next meeting in case we do meet for that workshop date.
Which
we'll
is
discuss.
still in August.
Yes, it is in
It
August.
is
yeah.
in August.
No,
No,
that one's
no,
in
there is
July.
one in July.
Oh,
Yep,
that's
there is
right.
one in July. Yep. So we'll just say the next meeting for that so that we can have some time to work
So
on that.
amended to be the next meeting.
Yep. Are you okay with that for your second?
Are you okay with that?
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion?
Just on that amendment,
Pardon me?
just on the amendment.
Mhm. Yep, which we can talk about. Yep.
Yes. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Karina?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yep.
Okay, opposed? All right. So now
Back to the amendment.
back to the, is there a motion for, no, just all in favor, say aye for the amended piece,
For the
For
amendment.
the amended
the
motion.
amended motion.
Yep.
All
I
in
have a
favor, vote by.
I
Okay,
have
yep.
a question also in regards to unexcused absences and the makeup. I just want to clarify a little bit because since this is middle school and high school, will our students or do our students know that they have a different amount of time to make up if it's unexcused as opposed to an excused one? So if a student comes back to school, missed today, comes back tomorrow and finds out you were unexcused, now you have to take that test today and you don't have one day extra to make it up.
I would say that that's on our administrator.
Yeah, that might be a communication.
That's a
piece.
communication.
You could
piece.
even expand into a communication piece with when we're communicating with the parents regarding absences, like,
We take a fifth grade student, sometimes their ability to get to school can be compromised, much different than the student that's a senior.
Right.
And I don't want to see them disenfranchised.
Yep.
Right word.
Right. Yep, that's a communication piece
Thank you.
on there. Yep.
Any other questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you all for that. The next item is the,
Visitors come.
Number 6.
block there.
You're
Took
right.
me a while to get there. We don't have any public comment.
Correct.
But we would like to welcome all visitors that are here today. And then next is item 7, the action items. So that would be voucher summary 2 in the amount of $254,513.42.
I'll move to approve the voucher summary 2 in the amount of $254,513.42.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I abstain. Information and discussion, donations over $250. Mike, are you presenting that or is Tom?
It doesn't really matter. It can bounce through it unless you want to, Mike.
Again, that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number of very generous donations, as you can see, primarily this time from the Viroqua Athletic Booster Club for their annual allocations for things such as the volleyball net system upgrade at $3,000, tennis tutor machine for $1,324, basketballs and cage and more basketballs for both the girls and the boys basketball program for $2,800 and glasses. 800. $2,819. Softball jerseys, $1,890. Basketball jerseys, $349.64. For our band program, we've had collection of donations of $1,434.78 to go towards the replacement of a timpani that will occur in a future budget year, but this will be a real nice start on the fundraising for that. And then the chimes for the band program were replaced in conjunction with the 100th anniversary of the band. Vaughn and Michelle Felton donated $2,000 towards that. So a total of $14,071.18.
Thank you. A question that we have about the timpani, am I pronouncing it? Timpani? If they don't raise the money, does the timpani that we have now, does that work appropriately?
It's time to replace that timpani. It might have been time 10 years ago to replace that timpani if you had talked to Mr. Two. It's showing its age, but he also understands that it's a very expensive drum. And he's been working with us on it to plan for it.
Thank
Very
you.
expensive. What's very expensive?
I think close to 20.
$16,700.
Okay.
Okay.
Just follow. Should have asked.
I'm not real good with numbers.
You need a pen to write the check?
The reason that I know that is because he has reached out to the Rotary Foundation for a contribution, and it's a purchase from, I believe, the University of Wisconsin has a used one. And so that was the latest amount that I received anyway.
I think that's correct.
You can borrow my pen if you want to write a check.
You go right ahead. The pen is already out. Well, that's good to know. So thank you for that, Mike. First reading of the district goals. Tom, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah,
Or do you want me to?
So as we're going through, we're talking about a first read, so you guys can see we have literally not changed a word from the 21-22 board goals and action plans, and that's on purpose. So we're going to have a more in-depth discussion either at the later workshop date, if we flex that from the other one, or at the August meeting, we'll have a more in-depth conversation. So big things to focus on is your not only district goals, but your priorities. What the questions that I'm going to ask next. How do we know as a district we've been successful within those priorities? We're very good at making statements, right? We're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then we don't really, and we've been more intentional over the past year and a half on saying, okay, we want to, engage the community and provide opportunities for participation in long-range district planning. What does that look like? What does success look like? And how will we know we've reached it by the end of this calendar, this school year calendar? So that's really what we'll be spending our time on. So please take some time, go through those goals, go through those priorities and those action steps. One, if you want to see any changes, let's bring those forward. But two, the bulk of our work is going to be on how do we know that we've achieved or not on those goals that we've set out to achieve. And so again, it's going to be very similar to our board workshop conversations with all of our academic subject areas, which is here's the data. What are our goals? What does the board expect from us as a district moving forward? And this one is what does the board expect from not only the district, but the board themselves? And so this is really where we're going to spend the bulk of our time is what does that success look like and how will we know that we've reached the threshold that we need to?
Some of the things when I read through this, for example, it doesn't say to survey students. And so that would be something that we're now doing, but it is not included in the steps on item number 4. Student attendance, we've spoken about the importance of students being in school. That's not really listed in any of the goals or any of the ways to define student success. We have also discussed as a board about being a minimum of 1 percentage point above the state average in all academic areas. These are types of things that I believe the board should sit down and have a workshop to see what we want included in there. And I would like for us to keep that calendar date for us to go through that and put specific information in there of what the expectations are. Is there anyone opposed to that? And the date again, Beth, was what, July 29th? 26th, July 26th.
Which is Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
I have a question.
Yes.
We have under our actions, it seems like there's several things the administration will be doing. And if these are board goals, I think there should be more of a board component, like a report back to the board about those or something. As opposed to saying the administration will do this. And that's just.
No, and that's why I would like to have a workshop.
Yep.
That's exactly why I would like to have a workshop.
I just bring it up now for your thoughts while you're pondering
Exactly.
other things.
Yes.
So is anyone opposed to that?
Amanda, Marina, thoughts on having that workshop date that we already were holding for
July 26th.
July 26th as a workshop to work on district goals for 2022-23.
Will it still be at 5:45?
Yes.
Okay, yep, I'll make it work.
All right, thank you. All right, so we will keep that and work on goals at that workshop.
Okay.
Perfect.
And then you'll also be working on the measures of success.
Well, that's where, again, we'll be talking about it's a nice statement. There's a lot of good statements in there that we're absolutely believe in. But now how do we follow through with that? Like, what does that actually look like and mean? And how will we know we've done that at the end of the year? Because right now we don't have any measures of success in there other than we're going to do this.
And we've also spoken as a board about that November meeting being a time to see what the community defines success of our students too. So
Get their priorities.
So maybe that's one of the goals of this year is a definition of student success. Those are all things we've discussed without putting any definitions to them.
All right.
All right,
Yep. So we will bring that back at the second meeting here in July.
perfect, thank you. End of the year AGR report and elementary school end of the year 2022.
Want to project? Okay. Should we just verbalize it? Yep, I can. So in your packet, you'll see the AGR report. Pat is on vacation, otherwise he would be giving this. He normally gives it. Krista, were you planning on speaking?
I can speak to
Perfect.
what I see here, yes.
That's sounds good.
Speak for it.
Yep.
And just as a reminder, this is a program we are part of. We receive some funding, and we are, as part of the program, we're required to report to the board twice a year. The actual report we submit is a much more comprehensive spreadsheet, and so Mr. Obert has really condensed the information into a much more user-friendly format here. It explains what our goal is for the students in grades K through 3 who have the benefit of this achievement gap reduction program. Our goal has been for the past few years to take the number of students achieving at or below the 25th percentile in the fall, and our goal is to reduce that number by half in the spring. And on the reading slide and the math slide, you can see how that's broken down by grade, kindergarten through 3rd grade in the fall. Winter we reported on, and then how students achieved in the spring. Now this is just one, we just selected one of our universal screeners that we already have all students take in each of these grade levels. So we're not adding or creating an additional assessment to take for students to take. But it is something that everyone in each of those grades takes at those 3 points of the year. And we're able to just pull that data to show what type of progress is being made for this AGR program. Some of the benefits of this program, students are able to have classes of 18 students to 1 teacher or less, one-to-one tutoring in some cases, and also we were able to provide some instructional coaching in some of our classrooms through this program. So as you can see, progress is being made. We can always do better in some areas. We have some plans. We're really excited to work more on some more systematic looks at our universal instruction and how we do our intervention work at each of these grade levels. And also we're going to be reintroducing a type of leadership team that is really focused on learning, and I'm sure this information will be impacted by having that really focused leadership group at each of our building levels, including the elementary next year.
Are you able to identify areas that these students struggle in and maybe target some more there through this testing?
This information definitely, when we're looking at students who receive extra help or intervention, this assessment is just one of the pieces. We try to triangulate as much as we can using other assessment information and teacher input. So this is really just one piece of what we look at, which is what the report asks for. But when we are looking at students needing extra help, this is just one piece in addition to other sources that we can gather.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Krista. Appreciate it. The next item is 21-22 school nurse report and health office report. Kathy.
In your packet, you should see a report from Emma. We're very, very excited, and it worked very well. We moved from BMH's nursing services this year to Scenic Bluffs nursing services, and we're able to hire Emma Hood as our full-time high school, middle school nurse with the support of a health aide at the elementary. And that worked very well. It offered us ongoing support, and Scenic Bluffs even had a school nurse support person for when Emma had questions or needed some support. They were right there, even to the point where coming into the office. So I was very pleased with that switch, and we were a little concerned in how it was going to go, but it was a fabulous partnership that we have with Scenic Bluffs. Because of that, next year and looking ahead in her notes, you'll see that we're going to be utilizing Scenic Bluff Health Service for our dental care in this coming year, locally sourcing a little bit more. We are thankful for Bridging Brighter Smiles. They did a great job. We just were presented that Scenic Bluffs could do the same care, and the dental physicians that they would go to anyway are those generally at Scenic Bluffs. So we're going to try that this year, and we're really excited about that partnership as well. So we have partnerships with Scenic Bluffs in our mental health area, with our dental care now, and with our nursing services, and that has been a very nice partnership. We hope to move into child development days. We've had them virtually for the last few years, so we are hoping to reinstitute that next year face to face. Also, most of her report, or a lot of her report, was dealing with COVID and COVID guidelines and going through that. That's not going away at this time, and that's still a big part of what they do. You can see the number of cases that they've seen, and it's substantial all across the board. So we're very, very thankful that we have this nursing services, and are glad that the board is fit to continue that. So thank you for that. Any other questions?
A question that I have, and I've spoken to it in the past, there are districts in our area that supply fluoride in the classroom. And I know that there was a window of opportunity that we could be funded for that. And it was a long time ago. I don't know how many years ago it was, but I don't believe that funding is still available today. But it wouldn't be something that every student had to have, but it would be available in particular in the elementary school first thing in the morning. And I am wondering if it would be possible to look into that as an option for our kiddos, our young people.
We certainly can
Look into it.
research that and connect with students and see if they have any connections or ideas as well. So
I would appreciate it. I know that a dentist in our area can tell the difference between our young people from Westby and Viroqua and the softness of the teeth of the young people in our school district versus a community beside us. So it would be.
because our water isn't fluoride.
Correct.
They
Yeah,
give what
The fluoride.
they give.
I don't know.
They give fluoride in the school, I believe, at Westby, I
Well,
believe.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
They used to a few years back. With COVID, I don't know if any of that changed, but they used to. So that would be the only question that I have. And it's really phenomenal how many of our students utilize and teachers, staff utilize our nursing services.
It is, yeah. And thank you to Deb Deaver as well. She does a fabulous job at the elementary level. They're really a very good team, communicate well, and we appreciate both of them a great deal.
Thank you. So Kathy, you are now speaking to the 21-22 seclusion and restraint report as well.
Yes, I am. Legally, we have to report the number of seclusions and restraints. There are very specific guidelines for students that are just behaviorally out of control and they can't be calmed down in other ways. There were no seclusions or restraints at the high school or middle school level for the past few years, actually. So that's a really good thing. There were minimal at the elementary level as well, and the principal was involved with them. So they were there's a very specific documentation and reporting of how they are done. All three of the students were special needs students. One was restrained multiple times to the point where we felt that his program would be better served off-site. And so he's in an alternate place and doing very well. Had no restraints there or seclusion. So that was a good placement. The parents and I have communicated often, and they feel that was a very good placement for him. Most of them happened early in the year. Towards the end of the year, there was one. So, once they settle in, they seem to do very well. We have our own nonviolent crisis intervention trainer on staff. We are mandatory we need to have one person trained at every building. We currently have 42 staff members that are trained in nonviolent crisis intervention. And now, thank you, Jason. We have 2 trainers now. We have one that will be adding to our staff in the fall. So we can even expand that if we need to. So, any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
District Administrator report, Tom.
Yeah, so 3 things I want to talk about. The first is facilities planning update. We just met with both Myron and HSR to continue with our conversation on our long-range facilities plan. So at that point, we did get some direction from the board, and we will be moving some referendum draft language to the board to potentially vote on here in August. So we'll get that to you. We'll review it, and then we will make our decision in August whether or not to move forward with that referendum for November. As part of that, just to reiterate, we began this process with a survey to our staff on needs that they see throughout the district. We then had 3 different community meetings for feedback opportunities prior to us putting together a formal survey that went out to all of the community. Survey responses from that survey came back with 810 responses, and we needed 400 to make it a valid survey. So that was a great and overwhelming number of responses, which we're incredibly grateful for. And we will continue to update our website. So we will not only have the recording from today's meeting prior to the regular board meeting, but we will also have all of the documents that we used in that meeting, as well as all previous documentation and other videos that are up there. So if you have any questions about facilities planning, where we are in the process, please use our website, as it is the most up-to-date as we can possibly get it. And we are being as everything that we have, we are putting it on that website and being as open and transparent as possible, so that our community is informed when they're making their decisions. Early Learning Center update, we are on track with that process. We just met again with HSR and Myra today to talk about that facility in particular, and continuing through that process right now. We're still in the, I'm not sure, Trent, if there's an acronym that we're using. I don't have it right in front of me, but
Design development.
yes, we're in design development. That was maybe not what I was thinking about, but that's what we're at. We're in design development, which means it just continues to hone in on that process prior to going to bid, with Myron running that as a construction manager. The great part about this process is all local contractors can bid if they feel that they can complete the projects as listed, and they're broken out into each individual project. Other local districts are using up to 60% of local contractors for their jobs, which is outstanding. So we will continue through that process, and the next process again is to really finalize that design so that when we go to bid, that those contractors have a really good idea of what we actually need them to accomplish so that we can continue with that process. So that's a really, really awesome. And we're working through and on track as of right now, as of 7:58 on the 18th for that March opening. So hopefully we can continue with that. Obviously, we can never make any guarantees with the current climate and supply chain issues, but we're going to give it our best effort. And right now we are on track. Oh, come on now. Come on now, Robert. I would love for it to be earlier than that, but I don't think we're going to get it earlier than that. We'll see, you know.
I've been stopped at a light asking when it's going to open. Came to my window, tapped on my window. And then I was at the mobile library, and I had parents coming in just to ask the question.
The need is real.
Just send them to
Yeah, that's
Dr.
it.
Tom.
That's it.
He said hopefully in March.
Yep, that's the plan as of right now, and we'll continue with that. If there needs to be an update to that, we will obviously be as open as we can. But this has been a good process again as we're walking through. It's a big. There are a lot of big things, if you guys haven't noticed, that the district is going through right now, and I can't tell you how appreciative I am not only of the groups and the organizations that we're working with in Myron and HSR, but how the community has responded in such a positive way. Back to school. So when we look at, I can't believe we're at that point. I really can't. I'm giving you a back to school report. I feel summer just started, but I will still give this report reluctantly. So we're really moving forward. We're really excited to welcome back all of our new professional staff on the 23rd of August. So if you remember, that is also the date that we did post because we also had a meet and greet with our board, with the board potentially that day, where we gave the new teachers some pizza, and then we went around for a tour through the Brendel tour service. So I think we're still doing the Brendel tour service, correct, Mr. Brendel? Okay. And with that, we would still obviously extend that invitation to all board members to come and meet our new staff and welcome them to the district. It's a great opportunity, and it's one that I think those that took advantage of it last year really did appreciate. On top of our teachers appreciating the board coming and welcoming them.
What was that date again?
The 23rd.
The 23rd of August.
Mhm.
At noon.
At
At
noon.
noon.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We will have support staff coming in for an orientation on the 25th. That's something new that we have not done before, but we really wanted to give an opportunity for our support staff, our paraprofessionals and others to not only come here and become a part of the district earlier, but also to provide them with the same level of PD and professional development to put them in a better place when they're starting out. Some of these jobs are very interesting and unique. And what we don't want is that feeling of, all right, you were hired for this job and you show up the day before and now you aren't prepared. And so we want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to prepare all of our staff to have success right away, day one, moving forward. So then all of our staff comes back on the 29th. We're really excited to have a great speaker that day come in. Last year we had Joe Beckman, and that was a really good experience. This year we've got Tom Thibodeau, I believe, from Viterbo, and we're very lucky to have him coming in and being our keynote speaker for that day, and really making and setting the tone for our year, which we're really excited about. On Wednesday, the 31st, then is our back to school night, which is going to be that open house that you guys are going to be doing a workshop with Myron and HSR prior to, and then we will go on over or disperse. We haven't really decided the logistics of it yet, but you're just going to be there and be available to all parents that want to come and talk with you, meet you, and just having open conversations. So there's nothing formal as far as an agenda for that, other than meet and greet and be available to the public. So.
Do you know what time that's going to take place?
The
Not
back to
yet.
school night
Not
is
yet.
tentatively scheduled right now 5 to 7.
But
to school night is 5 to 7.
Yes.
back to school night is
And then
six.
we'll just.
We'll
So
decide.
we may need to
Yeah.
be there at different times.
We may need to,
Okay.
may need to be, and we don't have to be available the whole time. We can still, we just make sure that we're communicating with the parents on when you're going to be there. And then the very next day, the 1st is the first day of school. So we're really, really excited to have kids back up. Just the summer is so interesting, and this summer in particular. Cody will talk a little bit about our projects later on. It's been a weird summer for cleaning schedules, for tech, for everything involved, just because of the bigger projects that we were taking on. And so we're feeling it's feeling like a unique summer, but every summer is a little different. And so we're very, very excited to welcome back our students on the 1st of September. Any questions about any of the 3 reports?
I will say that Tom is an amazing speaker and he does such a.
Not me.
You as well, but I'm speaking about your
Yes.
Tom Thibodeau.
Thibodeau, I believe.
Thibodeau,
Yep.
I believe is what his last name is. And I had the good fortune of attending one of his workshops on team building, and he's just amazing. I'll be curious to hear a report on how that was received by everyone. The next area is administrator reports, and we have summer school. Riley is here. Thank you, Riley, by the way, for sounds like just a wonderful summer school program.
We had our main session in June, and that ended on July 1st, Friday, right before the 4th of July weekend. It actually ended with some swimming. So Brandon Lee was the PE teacher, and we got 3 time slots throughout that morning to get the kids in to swim on the last day. But he made it educational as well by doing some prep work earlier in the week with the kids. And then there was a group, the Outdoor Adventures. They were gone all day. They also did some swimming on that last day at a lake, at a resort. Life jackets were required, waivers were required. So a lot of kids participated and had a lot of fun. that was the last day for the main summer school session. What I've been doing since then, we had camping last week, fourth graders one night, middle schoolers 2 nights. They're going to canoe tomorrow. That's just round 1, and then there's round 2 in August. And then I had a big meeting this morning with Cody and some of the middle school, high school custodians about the back to school refresher. The elementary school will still be closed for the refresher because some boilers are coming in and we'll need a big crane for that. And it'll be pretty humid in the meantime. So that's why we're still going to use the middle school, high school for the first 2 weeks in August. I'm working on updating some visuals to send home to parents about where the front entrance will need to be and what classrooms we'll be using. We'll have to use high school classrooms just for kindergarten, first grade, second, and third grade, but we will have to use high school. I'll work on making that happen. And the cafeteria will still be accessible. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got. Questions? What?
Wait till students again?
About 62. 62 for what? The back to school.
Back to school. Yep. Do you have any updated numbers from the initial summer school or not? Oh, you did last month. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I remember now. I was there. I was there.
No, you weren't.
No, I was not there. I lied completely. Hey, I was at other meetings. That's why I don't remember it. No, yes. But again, to reiterate, great turnout. And Riley has really taken ownership of this program, and it's been phenomenal. So I appreciate it, and thank you for everything that you've done. And again, the organization, just like the conversations again that are being done behind the scenes are really awesome. So appreciate it.
Does anybody have any questions? So I have heard such fun things about the summer school program and how engaged the kids are. So we really do want to thank you. And we want to thank all of our teachers and staff and everyone else that was working this summer to make it a successful program. So thank you.
So one other highlight, the Outdoor Adventures class got some publicity, not only from our local paper and from the regional paper, but if you didn't notice, the Wisconsin WASB, the School Board Association, also just featured it on their Facebook page as their highlight of their highlighted school this week. So that was really awesome as well.
The next item is summer projects. Cody.
Yeah, we have a few active projects here. One of the biggest ones, obviously, being flooring in the elementary school. Moving right along with that. I tell you, the guys like ripping out the 27-year-old carpet as opposed to the 12 or 14-year-old carpet. They're having issues with that, so they prefer ripping out the old stuff. But they're doing really good job with that. Creating, communicating with everybody. So that's moving along. So this guy is here taking care of some trees that kind of came around the district for us and kind of did a little audit of some trees that were some issues and maybe some safety concerns. And they picked one of the hotter weeks here in the summer to come take care of that. But we're happy to have that done for us. Nothing short of everything the custodians are doing here throughout the summer. I give credit to our group here doing a lot of dancing around, trying to accommodate everybody as much as they can. Really nice having a couple of veteran crews in both buildings because there's a lot going on, even more than it really seems. You know, they always turn out great, but trying to accommodate everybody and happily doing it with a good attitude. It's always nice. Then greenhouse, we just kind of put a time clock on some bids here last week. We've had a few that were open and honest. They wanted to bid it, but their time frame was a lot further out than we were looking. So the ones that we have gotten, I yet to kind of go over Mike and Tom with them, but we're pretty happy with them so far, and kind of moving right along on that. And pending projects, boiler project, water heater project in the elementary school. That one's kind of, as far as I know, still right on track here. The last week of July delivery date, you know, I'm I'm confident in that one because I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on availability for boilers and water heaters as opposed to air handlers apparently. So I'm positive on that one. I think that would be a couple big things to check off the list and positive things going forward for the district. So yeah, other than that, I can't believe it's past mid-July already. So, but yeah, credit to everybody. Credit to Riley being so flexible and that first day having elementary kids over in a new building. It was really interesting seeing them over in this building. It was very odd. But after that first day, he got everybody settled. Just the flexibility that he showed and openness, willing to communicate has been really nice and helps us help him. So we appreciate everything you did, Riley. I thought that was really awesome with you this summer.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Cody? I'd just like to congratulate you on your new position, and we're excited to have you in that leadership role. I do have one question about the greenhouse. What is the work to the greenhouse?
The new greenhouse.
The new greenhouse.
The new greenhouse for the food service.
Is that the aquaponics?
That is the aquaponics.
That is the aquaponics.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
I just wanted some
Yep.
clarification. So when is that going to be moving forward?
Some conversations that I had with them, probably with after we talked to Tom and get some approval here. It seems like we could get some excavating and concrete started within a couple weeks if that's the route we decide to go. And
Yep.
with talking with Lloyd, obviously he'd like to have his kids jump right on it when they come back to school here in the fall. And it seems like that is looking more and more likely, which is good because timing of things is very uncertainty right now. So I think, yeah, it's been nice to talk with a lot of local guys and they've been good. It's tricky getting a hold of them sometimes because they're so busy, but they're honest too. They'll be upfront with you and tell you how it is. So I don't ever think I've been a concrete guy. It's been coy and bashful. So
Yep. So just to kind of go back over that conversation. So that's a 20 by 60 aquaponics greenhouse that is going to be for our food service program to grow our own vegetables. We'll start with lettuce. And Christy has worked through this not only with Cody, but also with Lloyd because our construction class is actually going to build the greenhouse. So what they need though is a foundation. They need electrical, they need gas. And so we have to have those things in place prior to that construction and actually, erecting a building on that property, on that site. So this has been an all hands on deck approach. We met with buildings and grounds and went over just some of the basic pieces of it. And it was a really good conversation. So we're really excited about moving forward and continuing to do something that very few districts are able to do right now. And it's a really exciting development. So we'll continue to keep everybody posted as we get some pieces put together, and we'll update our Facebook page as we get some construction going there.
Marvelous. Thank you.
Yep.
The next topic, end of the year athletics update, Joe.
Right. So we've wrapped up a wild weather spring season with 2 conference championships. So we had the baseball team and boys tennis were both conference champions this year, which was nice. Our softball team finished with more wins this year than several years combined over the past couple of years. So they had a solid season, won a lot more games than they had in the past. We had, I don't have the total number. I think there were 7 of our track and field athletes moved on from the regional tournament or regional meet that we hosted to the sectional race. But we fell short of qualifying anybody for state there. Baseball finished 1 game shy of the state tournament, being regional champions. It was a tough final game. And Cuba City went on to win it all. So that, I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but It was a really successful season there. Our all-conference banquet was much more enjoyable. Hearing Viroqua was named called much more often for our team success and our individual success. We had Camden Oliver was voted as the pitcher of the year for the conference. So that brought our total to four conference athletes of the year throughout the school year. We had 2 regional champions in our girls hockey team and our boys baseball team, 5 individual state qualifiers. And also our boys tennis team had every sport has different names for regionals, sectionals, subsectionals. 6 of the 7 competing teams for our boys tennis team made it through the subsectionals into the sectional tournament. Again, falling short of qualifying for state there. But we just had, a lot of success. The teams were very resilient in all rescheduling with the weather that we had this spring. We had a band trip. Westby had a band trip. GET, I think, had a band trip. So West Salem had a band trip. So it was scheduling wise, I think I learned all I'm going to need to know about spring season. But it was really a testament to our coaches and our athletes how much they were able to remain focused. Playing when they're tired, playing when they got home late the night before because they were on the bus coming back from a makeup game and things like that. So now we're just getting ready to start it all over again in the fall.
Thank you. And congratulations to all of those young adults. That's fabulous. Anybody have any questions for Joe? All right. Look forward to hearing what happens moving forward next year, since you now have it all down. Board report. So the WASB legislative update, 2022 Legislative Council Study Committee on Shared School District Services has scheduled its first meeting this week, which is something new. They're wanting to discuss how schools may be able to share services. I know we have been trying to do that for a very long time and have done that actually quite well, but they are actually putting a committee together on a legislative level. So that's interesting. Wisconsin spent 6% below the national average ranking, which is 25th in the nation. And this is according to the 2020 census per student for public, elementary, and post-secondary education. So that was a little disappointing. I would say a lot disappointing. There's a bipartisan bill that's underway right now to extend the meal waivers. So I am very hopeful that that possibly will be able to go through.
That's a federal one?
Well, there's a federal one and there's a state one. So there were 2 different articles, one being federal, one being state. July 1st, the DPI released preliminary general aid estimates, which my understanding is they are preliminary and there were not any surprises in that preliminary budget, but it is very preliminary. And I'll use the word again because that's what it is. Does anyone else have any legislative updates that they would like to present? No. All right, with that, the district administrator evaluation tool, I want to let you know that Tom and I have been discussing it back and forth. He's been sending me information. I've been sending him information. He and I have a couple of meetings coming up in the next few weeks to try to go through that and see how we may change our evaluation tool moving forward. And then we'll bring that to the board for approval by the board once that's set. CISA 4 annual meeting update, Matt.
Yeah, it was June 1st and called to order at 6:30. They approved the minutes from last year. The program this year, which is the lion's share of the meeting, is Alternative Licensing Pathways, Supports, and Services, presented by Kay Hendrickson, and Jen Rasmussen. Essentially, what they're looking at is trying to grow the pool of candidates for teachers and going through a more just a different path. So provide opportunity to grow more educators within the CISA-4 region. It's a non-traditional post-baccalaureate program that would take 11 months to complete. The applicant would complete an application, interview, go through their background checks, everything like that. And then it would include self-paced online courses, participation in monthly collaborations, and completion of field experiences. So student teaching. Completion and content-based portfolio. And then they're looking at starting out right now with K through 9 to try to fill those holes, and then grow from there based on the needs and based on interested candidates. So we'll see what happens from that standpoint, what their what the outlook is going to be off of that. Let's see. Then they went into election of members to the Board of Control. And let's see, it was La Crosse County, Jackson County, and Monroe County were up for election this year. All three people that they had nominated were passed and carried unanimously. So La Crosse County was Catherine Griffin from West Salem. Jackson County, Mary Jo Rosmanowski. Okay. Black River Falls. And then let's see here. Monroe County was Dave Adamson. Cash. Reviewed the annual report. Dr. Keel Arnson had talked about that. So 4 of the CISAs will be getting new agency administrators on July 1st. Funding for the Wisconsin Center of Resilient Schools will end on June 30th. And the team provided school-based mental health and trauma-sensitive virtual coaching to 128 school teams. Let's see here. Academic and career planning workshops supported 11 school districts. Youth apprenticeship service worked with 14 districts for a total of 115 students. 100 employers and salary to those students totaling $642,000. Let's see. Title III Consortium worked with 18 of the school districts to support English learners and immigrant children. And Paul Fisher has been hired as the next agency administrator and will begin his duties on July 1st. Let's see here. Date for the 2023 annual convention will be Wednesday, June 7th at 6:30 p.m. And the meeting adjourned at 7:35.
Yeah.
Always is.
So just to comment on, so their alternative pathways, they're calling ALPS, which is a really good and interesting take in our world. So when we're looking at this, anybody with a bachelor's degree can go through this 11-month training process that's much cheaper for them or the district with which they're hired, and can fill some of these higher need areas. So they're taking on K-9 at this CISA. All the other CISAs that I'm aware of, there's 4 or 5 that are also starting something similar that have a different area of focus. So essentially, since it's a mostly virtual supported, they can go through, depending on what district needs, which kind of teachers they kind of can go through and get those licensures and those add-ons. It's one way that the state has set forth a for lack of a better term, pathway for us to get teachers licensed quicker and cheaper, because districts are really struggling right now. We're one of them that have had, much fewer applicants for different positions. We're still in a much better position than others and those districts around us, but it is difficult right now to find teachers in a lot of different categories. So that's just one that I do want to highlight, that they're taking steps to truly help in an emergency situation, which is where we find ourselves throughout education right now.
Thank you. So you're going to put June
On my calendar.
7th on your
On my
calendar?
calendar.
Wednesday. Just want to make sure. Thank you. Any questions for Nat? The next item is CISA 4 Board of Control position. So this is a position that actually Marina was involved with before or on the CISA 4 Board of Control. And then another district had the position for quite some time, and then that person is not. So there's an application process, and it would be wonderful to have one of our board members on this Board of Control, because it's a great way of getting updates, of speaking of concerns, and having our voices being heard. And I'm hopeful that someone from our board may be interested in this again. And please contact Tom if this is something that you are interested in. I don't know the commitment.
One meeting a month. It's usually in person, and they do usually have some sort of food involved. So it's offsite most of the time, and they usually have some food. So not that that's a big, I'm just making sure everybody's aware of that little.
Usually have some food.
They have food.
And it's once a month.
I believe it's once a month. Yeah.
I am assuming it's probably an hour-ish long.
Very
meeting.
short meetings. Yep.
So anyway, if someone is interested, please contact Tom about that. And with that, motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
Second.
Kim.
all in favor? Aye.